Let's call this meeting to order with a pledge of allegiance to the flag. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I need a motion to approve the minutes of July 21st, 2022, which was enclosed in your thing.
I'll make the motion.
Need a second?
A second.
Second by Renee. Any further discussion on that? Hearing none? All in favor? Aye. Oppose? The ayes have it. Mr. Horvat, you're up.
All right, you can see in there, we got our trial balance sheet in there. Current, our total liabilities and equity is $3,061.80. Not a whole lot going on there. So yeah. Do you have any questions? We have to ratify the payment for the tire event. That's all we really gotta do.
Okay. We want to do that one.
Well, we should do all of them. I mean,
Okay.
we should ratify
Okay.
the payments for the one from the hand tango, the one for the APs, and the one for the insurance is already, we paid that a few months ago. But the Mahan Tango was the $3,270, and the APs were
APs were 100.
Yep. So we're gonna have to void this because I wrote 200.
I seen that, but
Just right now, we wrote it, yeah,
yeah, okay.
but that's all right, we can get another one out too. But it's gonna be for 100.
Okay.
Now, I had that paperwork, oh, it's in here, that's why. Okay, motion to ratify the payments for the tire event. And as soon as I find it, I'll read it off. Be here somewhere. Right here?
Mm-hmm.
Matango, $3,270. USI Insurance for the event, $427. And Meadville Auxiliary Police for our traffic, total $3,857.50. And do we want to go with the reimbursement? Or are we holding off on that for right now?
Well, I think we're holding off,
Yeah.
we're just ratifying the
ratifying.
payments
Yeah,
that were
that's
made.
yours. Is this
So the
Mahan?
Mahan
That's yours.
Tango and the
Insurance
auxiliary
and the
police.
auxiliary police. Okay, need that in the form of a motion to pay $3,857.50.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, motion made.
Well, that's
Terry?
not really right.
Okay.
We need to make a motion to approve the treasurer's report and to ratify the payments.
I'm sorry.
Of $3,270 to Mahan Tango and $100 to the auxiliary police. That's it for now.
Okay,
All this total
okay.
is to be figured out, and we
Yeah,
already
you
did.
still have-
Making
Oh,
that
yes.
motion to ratify that.
Okay.
Second?
I'll second it.
Second by Robbie. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Robbie, for the budget, do you have anything for the budget?
No, I think Jill did that actually. No, I don't see anything in there. We don't have anything for the tire event because we're not probably going to do the tire event next year. Probably hold off to do that in 2 years. So we just got to pay our dues, pay for the website, some advertisement. really nothing to write home about.
Is that tire event gonna be in that every other year thing, or what's that?
Or every third year,
Oh, every
whatnot. Yeah,
third
you
year.
know, we had, I think before we did every 3, didn't we, when we started, right? Or-
Every other year.
Every other-
And,
Is that due to money or what?
well, there's a lot of work involved.
Well, yeah, I get
And
it.
to put the time and effort into it, and honestly, we found, because we did it a couple of years in a row, and the second year we didn't have the amount of tires. So we decided, and DEP's grant money, you know, to pay for it, for the costs kind of skyrocket, so it was better to just do it every other year.
Was there an overabundant amount of tires this year? Did you end up sending people away?
We sent a few away at
The
the
trailer
end.
was
We're
full.
gonna
Is
talk
that
about
why?
that a
Trailer was
little
full.
bit later, when we do the,
All right. Well, the only reason I ask is I know there's more tires out there.
Oh, my.
It could, yeah.
Okay, I need a motion to approve the 2023 budget.
I'll make the motion.
Renee? I'll second it if no one else will. Any further discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. We got to advertise our 2023 meeting schedule, and it is in here. Please. Oh, okay. January 9th? No, that's not it. Yeah,
January 19th.
oh, just the ones that are in stars, okay. February 16th? Oh, that's optional. So it's January 19th, April 20th, July 20th, and October 19th will be our meeting days. And they're going to be at the Meadville Chamber of Commerce building unless we decide to go somewhere else. And we'll let you know a couple weeks before.
Sometimes for me, it's a little easier to go to a municipality than it is there.
Well, the parking isn't,
I don't ever know what vehicle I'm gonna
Right.
be in, and if I take something bigger, I can't park it down there. And
well, we did go around a little bit last year, and
Yeah.
it worked. I think it's a very good idea.
yeah. Well, I mean, you saw what happened to me today. I'm late walking in here, but I wanted to make the effort anyhow.
Well, thank you. Okay. Now, the last thing is to authorize the administrative secretary to send delegates.
Was there a motion? I didn't.
Oh, no, I didn't make a motion on that.
I'll make that motion.
Okay.
Accept.
Second to the dates? Okay. Sorry. Any further comments on the dates? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Our next action is to authorize the administrative secretary to send delegate selection letters in December. Need that in the motion,
I'll make that motion.
okay? Second?
I'll second it.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. COG Tire Event PowerPoint presentation.
I'll go through it real quick if
Yes,
you want me to.
that's fine.
And
You're
then
doing
Gary
great.
and Renee, as members of the committee, can jump in. How's that sound? This is just something we do because we have the event every other year, except for during COVID, so it got switched a little bit. But we had the event on September 24th, and we'll make this available once it's finalized. We're still in the process of working out the dollar amounts because of the grant funding. But basically, you know, we show the need for tire recycling and then the funding sources. We have a lot of pretty much everybody donates their time and effort, different people in the COG. Pal Sanitation, we always say thank you to them. They donated a porta potty. DEP grant money is available. We'll get to that a little bit. Crawford County Commissioners let us use the fairgrounds at no cost, so that makes it nice for the whole Crawford County event. It's ease of people coming in and out. Can't say enough for working with us. And then auxiliary police, Meadville Auxiliary Police come do traffic control, because sometimes every event is different. Sometimes there's a ton of traffic sitting there at 4:30 a.m. We met a few people there early on. They wait in line for the gates to even open. So the APs come and help us with traffic control. Other times they may not be needed, but they would help us and work through everything. Basically, we all know what the benefits to getting rid of the tires are. Basically, we want the breeding grounds, flies, any kind of mosquitoes, everything to not be in our area. Waterways cleaned out. For years, the French Creek Conservancy and us would work back and forth to get rid of all the tires. So now we still do it, obviously, for individuals. So anybody can bring tires to this as long as they show they're a Crawford County resident and pay $2 per tire. Where did the tires come from? This is actually, I like this graph. It kind of shows a lot. We've had a lot more. Anybody in red are where people are located that brought the tires. We always ask them where they're from and how they heard about the event. It's things that we have to kind of quantify to DEP.
This was just this
Yep.
round.
Yep, we collected 1,056 tires total, and like Crawford County, just from the county itself, got rid of 28 tires that you guys had around. That we only take car and truck tires, so we don't take big tractor tires or semis, that kind of stuff, any big municipal equipment. But of those 1,056 tires, the total tire amount, you can see, like when you look at, say, East Mead, there was 41 tires that were cleaned up out of East Mead specifically. So we had, and when you look at the next page, there was 1,129 total tires that were disposed of. 111 different residents brought them, plus some of the local municipalities and the county. So there were County of Crawford, City of Meadville, 4 boroughs, and there were 24 townships where these tires were cleaned out of. So that's all the ones in red. So it's nice to see that there was a lot of different people partaking of this instead of just a couple of local townships. So we kind of put there also how the media, how people found out about it. It's always interesting to see where they learned about it. So 50% of them read about it in the Tribune or saw it on the Tribune's website or their posts. 31% heard about it on Facebook or the internet. 17% heard about it from friends or by word of mouth. And 2% heard about it as an advertisement on the radio.
No one listens to the radio anymore, apparently. Yeah, that's weird.
Well, I think, I don't know as much how much it was really advertised, because
actually
I
heard
know, did you hear
I
it?
heard it once
Okay.
too
I know
myself.
Renee
Yeah.
tried at the last minute to get them to push it out even more, so. So where'd the tires go? They weren't landfilled. That's kind of, especially DEP's grant approval process. They don't want them landfilled or, destroyed in any way other than what is acceptable under recyclable. So Mahantanco has a facility in Liverpool, PA, and they have to go there because they're a certified waste hauler. You can't just send them down the road to somebody who isn't a certified waste hauler and recycler. So the Liverpool, PA is where they went. They get ground into rubber mulches kind of for some horse stables or for rubber mats. The use in, a lot of manufacturing, the steel is taken out and used and recycled. So on the page of what did it cost, and this is just preliminary because we're waiting to see about the grant funding. Brenda Schmidt from the Solid Waste Authority and I just talked this morning. We're not quite sure if we're getting the funding from DEP or from the Solid Waste Authority. So this is kind of tentative. Basically, the main numbers are the total revenue that was brought in, if we get the grant or get it paid for, plus the fees, the $2 per tire that came in. We had total revenue of $3,293.25. The expenses going out, and this may change a little bit too, depending on what we figure out, but the Mahan Tango payment that we just authorized, the Meeville Auxiliary Police we just authorized, and what we paid for the insurance. So those are the costs, so those are the tentative costs for now, and we'll know more, and I'll post all of this online once we're done, once we get everything figured out. But basically, everyone cooperated. The residents were patient. Sometimes they have a long wait in line, other times they don't. So it's all depending upon the year. So basically, then we show some different pictures of different people, and we want to say thank you to all the volunteers. There are a number of us that are kind of long-term. We've been doing it for a while. And then we have some newer people that, you know, we're always willing to have some help. And without the AP, the auxiliary police officers, juvenile probation.
They did a great job.
Oh, they
I'm
did.
telling you.
So happy they showed up.
Yes.
Yeah, they were more of the tire slingers than anything. So they were in the truck and the ones
Right.
getting dirty, doing a lot of the work. Woodcock Township Road Department, Jason Crawford, they brought the loader, so we like to
That
say
was
thanks
great.
to them.
That worked.
Did it work
very
out good?
Yep.
And then our road department, Westmead's road department, they always do the signage and barricades and kind of help us get prepared and then take down the signage, so.
Very good.
And thanks to them, my goodness, they were there Friday.
Yeah.
Did a great job.
Did you have to
Everyone
stack
did a great
tires in the
job.
trailer like this time? Did you have to go up in there and do it?
We all helped a little bit.
Jill, let me make a suggestion, and this is just a suggestion, because,
Well, right before you go,
Okay,
we also
okay.
want to say thanks to the
Fine.
members of the COG, because
Sure.
this is the last sheet of the page. Not to interrupt you,
No, it's fine.
but we want to say thank you, because without the townships, you know, Lau, you were there, Terry was there, Renee was there, I was there, Brenda was there, John showed up with tires, but without these people, you know, it wouldn't be able to happen, because we need people that are volunteering their time and effort at no cost usually, so. Okay, now, sorry, John, I didn't mean
well, I
to
know
interrupt
you guys do a pretty good job at this thing, but what I'm thinking is, because I know that you said it's, you know, if it wasn't for some of the people that have been there so long, they're getting a little tired too, I believe. But anyways, my thought was this, is if you put an event on and you saw yourself being shorthanded of volunteers, what if we looked at all the municipalities that are in the COG and just a big circle and say, you start with Westmead and say, all right, I know I'm short 2-3 guys, you know, even though we would have to pay our people, but it's still a part of the COG, a part of the event. And if we had to pay 2 guys or 3 guys, you know, 4 hours or 5 hours on a Saturday morning to help sling tires or to make this event happen, I'm just thinking, and then everybody take a turn. You know, this year Westmead, next year Eastmead, next year Vernon, next year Union, whoever it may be in the circle, in the COG, if you had to do that, or, you know, revert back to that. Even
It's a
though it
good
would
idea.
cost you a little bit
Yeah.
of money, and it's not breaking the bank doing it, but yet it's a good event to get done. And like I said, you know, I realize you're not gonna have an event next year, but boy, if you were, it would be helpful to me, because here's our dilemma. and-
John's gonna run it.
Yeah, I know, well, I can make suggestions, but I don't know about being the guy running it. I mean, I think we do a pretty good, we
Just
do
been duly elected apparently.
we do a pretty good cleanup day. And again, if it wasn't for the commissioners in the fairgrounds location, it's not an easy thing to do someplace else. It's not. We've tried that, and it's miserable. But anyways, I'm just saying, I just think that, you know, I know you want to do it with volunteers, and that's the greatest way to do it, but if you can't, have
think-
everybody on
Good
board.
idea.
I think you're on to something, because it does benefit each township.
It
Yeah.
does.
So that
And,
even if we were to, as a township, ask one of our guys to work and pay him,
Yeah, yeah.
it would,
It's not going to break you.
it's not going to
do
break the township, and it's going to benefit us. And it could help us, like I tried to get the football team and the wrestling team, and they weren't available. Thankfully, the football team's winning, and they couldn't make it because of studying the tapes. But that, we were counting on them, and that changed. So if we didn't have to count on that, I think he has a real good idea of, as far as each township sending a guy.
Well, I think it takes the
a few.
pressure, it takes the pressure off too,
Yeah.
because.
And I know we wouldn't mind, sending one of our guys, and paying them for their time on a Saturday.
Yeah. But I mean, I'm thinking, all the COG members, and everybody takes a turn. And, or, all right, two guys or one guy from Westmead can do it this year, but one guy from Eastmead can do it too.
Yeah.
And you're gonna need three.
Yeah.
So then you double up, you do it that way. You figure it out, but make it happen so that you're not shorthanded and not overworked, because slinging tires is not I wouldn't want to be doing
Not me.
it. I'm just
Well, like I
saying.
said, those
It's
young
nasty.
people, that, from the juvenile,
Yeah.
they was
They were
great.
tremendous. They were very, very good.
Yep.
And, and that was, of course, volunteer too, though, right?
Well, they're doing it probation.
Yeah, I get it,
The probation
but-
officer,
Yeah.
the department, he was there also.
on their record.
Yeah, and then they,
That
yeah.
they, public service, yeah,
Community
and that's a
service,
good
they
thing
call it.
too, but then sometimes, that doesn't always pan out.
Thankfully, they worked out
Yeah,
that they showed
yeah,
up.
yeah.
Because
Sometimes-
otherwise, it would have
They've always been extremely helpful. They've
Yeah.
always shown and been there. and-
Most guys that want to make a difference in their life are good help, but those who don't aren't. So, just saying. That's my suggestion.
I think that's a great suggestion, and I think we should put that in the record and see what we can do. Any other business to come before us
Do you
today?
have anything else you want to add? Because these two
I'm
were there.
sorry.
About the COG? Well,
About the tire
actually, I
event.
wasn't there. I wasn't able
Oh,
to.
yeah, sorry, but you're
I
on
had
the-
to cancel on the
you were on
last
the
minute,
event.
and I'm sorry about that, but, I'm quite impressed with what you guys did. That's a lot of tires to clean up out of the county. And it does really help, because they do usually end up in ditches or in fields, and so it's a really a good benefit for the county to have it done. So I appreciate your effort for doing it.
Renee, you have anything?
I just thought it flowed better this year, where we had the trailers sitting
That was a-
and
yeah,
the
that
traffic
was- that
in and
really
out
worked good.
was a lot better.
Yeah,
So.
I agree.
Yeah, that turned into be a good blessing.
Right.
So I wonder if we shouldn't shorten up the window that we're open. So we say 8 till noon. Should we push that back a little bit, whether it's 8 to 11 or 8 to 10? We've done a really great job of filling up.
How do you know whether or not you could do one trailer or two trailers? Because I remember when the event first started, it was two trailers.
There was one trailer the first year, two trailers the second time we did it.
Yeah.
Because we were so overwhelmed the first year.
Right.
We had traffic lined up. So it was on Dixon Road,
Yeah.
we had traffic.
Yeah, you needed me up there to regulate, but, okay, I got that.
Well,
But having a steady
You can always volunteer,
Yeah.
John.
we,
I did, I
Write
put the
that in the
signs
minutes,
up.
too.
some
I
people
did.
wanted more than 12 tires,
Yeah.
so,
I
Did they
think
have
that's
them on
something
the
the
truck?
tire committee
no, they
really
didn't,
should
but they
think
said,
about if it's
we
gonna
can go back
happen.
and get more.
Were people waiting to get in?
This time?
Yeah.
There was
A few?
a handful.
A
It
handful,
wasn't.
and they brought quite a few tires, though, those early folks, because they
Yeah.
didn't, apparently had experience before. And
The only thing, when you say other people wanted to bring more than 12, you're gonna find those tires somewhere.
They probably didn't make it back to their,
Chances are they didn't. Where? I can tell you, all of our hot spots are Town Line Road, Phelps Road.
Oh, yeah.
Woodcock, or not Woodcock, but Dixon Road maybe. and down into Woodcock. But I just tell you, we probably pick up 20-some tires a year, plus TVs. So I'm just saying, you know, we could have brought more than we brought, too.
Well, like I said, you know, maybe 24 tires or something. I don't know.
I think these are all good discussions for the tire committee,
Well, if you don't
which
think-
may be expanding.
If you don't
We may
Sounds
get
like
some
it.
new members on the
I'll let the
tire
chair go,
committee.
so.
How's that?
Well, and the other thing I say too, when Terry had to excuse himself at the last minute, if you had a backup plan, you could have had him covered, you know what I mean? Or if that happens, or somebody gets sick at the last minute, you know, you can reach out to a municipality and, you know, make it happen, you know, I mean, have extra help, that's all, you know, for that, but, I'm good for suggestions. My tire slinging days are done. Trust me.
I'm glad you
Now
said
that's
that.
going to go in the minutes.
My tire slinging days are done.
No, that's not,
No,
that's not the quote. That's the I'm good for suggestions.
Yeah. But anyways, I mean, even Eric, I know he sees a lot of garbage on Franklin Pike, he has to. And we get into picking some of that up too.
Wonder if we could put an asterisk, 12 tires and say, oh, if you have more, contact us.
Well, could you do like 12 tires per trip? You know what I mean? Like, because we do that with some stuff, like during cleanup day.
Yeah.
We're like,
Well-
you can't bring it all at once, but if you're willing to come back a second time, kind of like spreads it out a little bit. Some people won't come back, but.
And they still have to pay.
Right.
You know, I mean, because the events.
But then a guy
event's not
doesn't
free.
show up with 30 tires right at the first part of the day and take
Yeah.
up a big chunk.
The only thing, a lot of
trailer.
people, once they're in the mood of to be loading tires, if you gotta load 15 and you got 30, the other 15 would be right then and there, you know what I mean?
I think you're right.
They might not have the help. You know, kids can help till 10 o'clock load tires, but I can't help you till noon. But you know you have help on the other end getting them there, so if it's already on the truck or the trailer, if it was me, I would load them all. If I had 30 and I was allowed to bring 30, then I'd try to do it in one trip instead of two. So,
You do run the risk of if they went home and came back and we were full, now they've got 15 tires on their truck.
Truck and they can't.
yeah. And now what are they gonna do? They're gonna
They're
stack
looking-
them up, or are they gonna
they're
wait
looking for
until
a place to
midnight?
get rid of 'em, yeah.
And they're gonna be out on, you know, back road someplace. So,
Well, I think we had very good discussion on this. We've got some good ideas. Let's keep them in mind and work on that.
tires are a nuisance. They really are.
We'll be like the Jetsons before long.
I will tell you that I did get a phone call when you guys were, you must have gotten full around 10, 11 o'clock. Somebody said take them to Flynn's. He called. He wasn't real happy about that. Because
Wasn't I.
tons of people went down there. And, yeah,
Doesn't Cambridge Tire still take?
you gotta pay there too though, right? Yeah. And I think you pay at Flynn's too. But on a Saturday, he was busy with his work day and people were pulling in with tires, wanting to get rid of them, and he didn't have the manpower or the people to pull out of the garage, and you just don't let them throw them anywhere. But they were, yeah, they called.
Well, you had contacted them, right? You
I
usually
did.
contact Flynn's and
I talked to
Cambridge.
Cambridge.
Yeah, well, a bunch of them went to Flynn's, and I know he wasn't mad, he just said, I can't do it, you know, so we need to be careful of that too, I guess. Just saying. You know,
Okay.
Is the amount of the DEP grant, is that the max they'll give?
It's 50% of whatever your expenses are.
Oh, so we could maybe think about 2 trailers and,
Yeah, we've done that. We got the
Yep.
grant money in the past for the 2 trailers.
but that's a full day too, isn't it? Is a
It doesn't
full
have to
day?
be. You can, they bring the trailers that morning and then they take them back, you know.
Yeah, but you load the trailer as the people go through, correct? You don't throw them on the ground, because if you got tires on the ground, you don't know when you're gonna peek at the trailer, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, no, they have to be loaded and
As you
got rid of.
get,
that
as you're
day.
unloading them,
Yeah.
as they're being unloaded, they're being put in the trailer. So then you'd know how to cut them off if you had 2 trailers. Sure don't want to get stuck with them.
I think we got ourselves a new person to run it.
I mean, Eric doesn't want to get stuck with them at the
Can I make that
fairgrounds, that's the
motion?
doggone
Okay, you
truth.
want to put that in the minutes?
Hey, I'm just trying to be helpful
I
to you
think
guys. Where you
a
been
lot of
lacking?
these things, we all talk about as a committee, we
She
go
can't
over
win it.
this
She can't win
every
it.
time.
She can try. She can't.
I'm trying to.
No, I think, some good information come up, and I think it's to our advantage to sort of take this and run with it a little bit, and let's try it. It won't hurt. All right, if we're done with the tire event, any other business? I'll go around the room. Start with Brenda.
What do you want me to say?
I don't know.
Oh,
Do you have any other business?
I don't know, I missed the first half. No, I think I'm good.
Okay. Eric,
Okay.
you're okay?
Oh, Lord. I have one small thing.
Okay.
These are PA1 calls. Heed the warning if it comes into your municipality. It's a $500 fine if you do not respond, but you already know that.
Oh, yeah,
don't
we
you?
know that.
Yes, I figured you did.
Yeah.
But it was discussed at the last PA1 call. This stuff is serious business. If you ignore it, it is an automatic $500 fine for the first offense, right?
Yep.
Okay, that's all I had to say.
What's the penalty for them people taking a not call?
That's up to the PUC now. It is regulated all by the PUC, Public Utility Commission. And the reason it got turned over to them was because whoever was handling it before for the PA1 call people, they weren't really doing anything. Nothing was happening. They knew people were doing exactly what you're saying, and there was no repercussions, there was no
Right.
fines, there was no nothing.
Who
But,
turns them in though?
well, it just depends. Could be if we see somebody digging and we haven't received the one call, then that's a red flag, you know? You gotta be watching your township daily.
If they know there's no fine or nothing.
Well, I believe there's a fine, and I don't know what the fine or the fee schedule is, but we just went to 2 real intense PA1 call classes, and this stuff is getting more intense, and it's real. I mean, you gotta heed the warning because, $500 for the first offense, that's one thing. And you guys didn't get out of that, did you?
Yeah, we did.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, we did.
So you took a hearing?
No, we did it all by phone calls.
Okay, well, then you got lucky, because I gotta tell you, with the instructor, Kurt, that we had, he said that the PUC is not bending very much.
From what I remember, we challenged the authority to fine us without prior warning.
Yeah,
And so they basically agreed after some discussion that, because never before have they, it's, for 12 years, I've never worried about it. And then all of a sudden, they said, you have to, and this is their fine.
I don't know how many are
So we
there,
discussed that,
but this is just today,
yeah, see,
and it takes time. And some of this stuff, your township pretty well, you can clear it pretty quick. But some of the stuff, you better go
Go out
look
and
at.
look.
And especially if it's a project that's going on, you better go look. Before you just automatically say, well, that's clear, there can't be anything there. And the next thing you know, if you clear it and somebody hits something, some of that's on you too.
Yeah, you hit a fiber.
Well, you're saying it's clear. And, for us, it's more drainage than anything else for the
Yeah.
municipalities. I wouldn't want to be the gas company, I wouldn't want to be the electric company, but I'm telling you, or saying to you that this stuff
we found that
is
we don't,
serious.
we don't authorize, how's that go? We do not clear utilities. That's not
This
our.
is drainage.
Yeah, I understand that, but
Yeah.
I mean, and that's
For
all
us.
we look at.
Right.
So when it comes through as the other ones, like you said, we know our township, we know where they're doing it and whether we have to or not,
Mm-hmm.
But everything else is all off of us, and that was in part of that discussion we had.
Well, and
So,
you want to take that off your back too,
Right.
but I'm just saying, you
you
cannot
don't want that
ignore these
responsibility.
things.
Yeah.
You have to respond. And again, we have a pretty good system around here because I do most of them. And then I turn them over to the girls, and the girls follow it up after that.
Yeah.
I don't have the time to sit there and do all that. That's part of their
Yeah.
job. And it just makes it easier, But
Yeah.
I'm just saying, you cannot ignore them.
Right.
And now that it's handled by the PUC, you have to pay attention.
Yeah.
So that's all I have.
Okay.
Promise I won't come to the next meeting.
Oh, you can come. We enjoy
You're on the tire, you're
actually-
the tire committee, so you better be
So I
here.
can delegate my authority, is what I can do, right? That's how that's done, right?
Actually, I wanted to discuss with the COG, and I'm glad Eric's here, is the EMS coverage. We got notified by Meadville Ambulance Service, which Eric owns, I believe, that they're no longer, they terminated primary EMS coverage in our township. But they will, if they come into our township, they're going to charge us $500 and a mileage charge of $10 for each response. I'm under the impression that for us to, he wants us to raise taxes $500,000 and give the money to him. I'm under the impression that that has to be bid. You can't give tax money to a private entity without putting it up for bid. So I'm wondering if the COG wants to go together and all the townships go together and put it out for bid, because all the townships are going to get this. If they haven't done it, they're going to get this letter.
Well, we received a letter, but I didn't take it that way.
Well, mine is, well, we didn't meet with him, and that was the problem.
They chose not to meet with me, and
Yeah.
Oh.
We wanted to
Oh.
postpone meeting with him, and I guess that
Okay.
wasn't good enough, so we got our 90-day notice that he's terminating our service.
well,
Now,
Mr. Simonette, for clarification purposes, and I will speak on behalf of the ambulance service, if all the other municipalities meet with me and work at ways to find solutions, it's certainly not fair for one township to say, I'm not going to meet with you. I mean, I'll read the letter if you want from your secretary, but I don't think I have to. I think you've got
no,
this, I think you
I
got the
know,
same
we
letter.
asked you to postpone it, yes.
No, you actually said you didn't want to meet with me until, and your other commissioner, your other supervisor already spoke to me and explained to me how it went down, the situation it was, and so he was very clear that you had no interest in doing it. At the end of the day, all the folks at this table actually met with me about the process. And so the difference being is, at the end of the day, if you can bid out the process, I have no problem with it. I've told in fact, some townships have done that, and I'm okay with that. At the end of the day, I'm just a private businessman who has a service to provide, and if you don't want me to provide it, you can have someone else provide it.
Yes,
That's really what
and I
business
understand
is.
that. And that's why I'm wondering if other townships that are going to go through this, and this could be costly to some townships, $500,000. For East Mead, it's not as much as West Mead. But I don't think you can just do that and without bidding, putting it into the bid process, because that's tax dollars. And so can we get together and bid for his services as a collective, is what I guess I'm asking. Because we're going to need to do this at some point.
Here's one thing I would say real quick, like, one, I don't understand why you didn't meet with him. And maybe you're prepared to answer that or not, but we did meet with him, okay? I think everything is in the very, very early stages. He presented it to us, what the issue, hang on.
Yeah.
He presented it to us, what the issue was, and we absorbed all that. We're trying to think through the process. There's been no decisions made. I think that maybe your suggestion is okay, but I don't know how you would do that and then divvy up the cost and have it be fair to every municipality, because we're not talking just Westmead and Eastmead, it's Woodcock, it's right here,
Yeah.
look at your map.
Yeah.
It's that map, okay? And I'm just saying, I think everything's in the early stages, and to just not meet with him and not hear the other side of it, I think you needed to do that, and then maybe bringing it here, I don't think is a bad idea, because you got it before I did, and I was gonna suggest that, is there anything that the COG could do in any way, shape, or form, or, is there no way? I don't know. I don't have the answers. But again, I'm saying it's in the early stages, and we need to think it through very carefully and keep a good line of communication with him and us, all of us. But I think you probably should have taken the time to meet.
Well, we
Just a suggestion.
yes, we put it off, not knowing what he wanted to talk about.
I don't want to read, Mr. Simon, with all due respect, I don't want to read the email to you that I sent to you, which is identical to all the other townships, to your secretary that you were carboned on, but to be, in all fair and honesty, I don't think you want me to go down that path of reading the email, because the email was very clear that it said, due to EMS issues, these guys all received the same exact email I sent. So I appreciate you saying that, but it's just not true.
What our
Did you see
discussion
the
was,
email?
no,
You
I
did?
did not. Our discussion was that, and we included in
Well, I'll
our
forward his
email to
back to you, 'cause
you,
it's on my phone right now.
and
I
to
just don't-
you, was that we were checking with PSAT
We said, yeah.
on the EMS issue, and that we wanted you to come back in the spring to talk to us. We were putting it off till then because, well, first of all, it's our budgetary time.
Everybody.
And-
why I
yes,
was-
and that's
which is why I
why we
approached
wanted to postpone at least in November. And I did read the email that Leanne sent to you, and I know it was
You
she
wanted
asked
to-
to meet in the spring.
She said it would be up to me to set another meeting up after spring, and you take all of your guidance from PSATs.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
let's email. I
Yes.
mean, I'm just,
And so again, I didn't read the first email to know that.
I sent it to her, and she carboned it to all of you.
Okay. Yeah, and I understand that we didn't meet with you, so you sent out our 90-day notice, and I understand that. As a businessman, you have to do that. So I don't have a problem either paying you the mileage and the fee. I mean, I don't have that problem. We're in the process of seeing how many times you come into our township. And what those calls are. But at the same time.
82.
82 times. Okay. And do you know what those calls are for? Or it doesn't matter?
A myriad of things, but anytime an ambulance responds, that's a
Okay.
30% of them are probably cancellations, refusals, overdoses with Narcan refusals. I mean, that's what the average standard is for the county.
Okay.
What is there, a third?
30%.
Oh,
yeah.
really?
Which is half the problem, is there's nobody paying
Not to be a
for my
wise guy,
employees
but
and fuel to
that
come out
was
to the township.
Some of the information that we got from him by meeting with him. I mean, we didn't make any decisions whatsoever. We listened to his proposal, and, we're trying to process it. It's
Yeah.
budget time for everybody
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah.
And,
Well, we didn't see the importance at this time to meet with you.
And that's
And
unfortunate, Mr. Simonette, that EMS isn't important to you, but at the end of the day, for the last 20 years, I provided that coverage to your township for $0. And I actually could have asked for that 20 years ago. It's pretty important. Public safety, in my mind, having an ambulance come to your house when you need an ambulance is pretty important.
Yeah.
I just can't think of anything that's not very higher up than EMS, fire, public safety. It's pretty important.
do you know in his township how many members there are? Does that matter?
No, it doesn't. The standard membership is 10 and 11%.
Yeah, I know.
What
but
I
what
want to
I
know,
mean is
do you,
people.
Oh, people? I know how many people, yeah.
In his township.
You mean number of residents?
His residents that are members to the
Of your
ambulance.
service.
Whatever 10% is of his, that's
So
the
you,
average.
oh, okay.
And there's
Okay.
no greater township than another.
Oh, okay, okay. I just wondered, you know what I mean? And
I wish there was. Honestly, if 90% of all of our residents were members, we probably wouldn't be having this discussion. Because that money would help supplant the fact that you have ambulances coming there. So.
okay, so now that you said that, is that a direction that maybe we should be trying to push for, is a membership drive instead of,
I mean, you can push for it. I mean, I
don't know.
I just tell you what the regional standard is. There's nobody that has more than 20% turnout. I mean, it's just people don't think they need an ambulance membership until they get an ambulance bill.
Until they're on
And
the ground.
then they want an ambulance membership.
Yeah.
So, which we don't permit because it's not fair to anybody else who buys for people. So.
right?
Mr. Henry, do you bill for insurance for these services?
Sure.
So you're going to bill us and insurance too?
Sure, and during the meeting that all these folks have been in, we talked about Medicaid, which pays at 1/3 the rate, and Medicaid with 1/4 the rate, Medicare, which is 1/3 the rate. Yeah, that's what the meeting was about, was the payer mix and how bad the insurance reimbursement is.
So going to get those rates upped is something that we as a township should be pursuing our representatives to do for him.
Absolutely, and I would encourage you to also revisit the municipality laws when it comes to second-class townships in regards to EMS, because a lot of townships didn't know that they are required to provide fire and EMS. And I've always told people, I don't make those laws. Your representatives make those laws. And I would encourage you to talk to them and say, that's not a good law. We need to change it.
But I'm being told that we have EMS service through our fire department, that there's an EMS.
Well, they provide QRS. Sure.
Yeah, and you provide the
transport.
The transport.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if that is your choice, that you want to identify your EMS provider as your fire department, then we will gladly have you be the primary. We just won't respond to your township.
Yeah. Okay.
They'll either have to put them in the truck or in their car, I think. I don't know how they get there.
Truly, I was interested in seeing what COG members wanted to do, if they had any interest in putting it out for bid. I guess I'm thinking that the type of dollars we're talking is going to come under the bid requirements that we have in our code book. So that's what I was, curious to find out.
I think, just like John said, we're kind of in the early stages and seeing what's out there, but there's professional services that you may not have to bid out, so I don't know. And
Yes,
like
yeah,
I said,
don't-
this is kind of early on. We just met with you last week. We haven't really
And
done more. I've got
I have
some
been doing
phone
the
calls
same
into
thing. I've
people,
met
so-
with 13 of the 22, and I have 21 of 22 scheduled to meet. I have learned different parts of Mercer County where we cover different issues that people have. There are townships that provide $0 to their fire service that will be damned if they provide $0 EMS. And Mr. Horvath is aware of that he pays the price of that fire service, and the township refuses to pay the price of fire service, which is absolutely ridiculous. So I've learned a lot from going to meetings. Honestly, the meetings have been very productive to me, and I'm very happy to have them. And I consider all of you partners in Crawford County, and I'm somewhat miffed by people making it an adversarial thing, because at the end of the day, I think everybody wants an ambulance to come to their house. That's what we all want, and we want to make sure it's sustainable. If this is something the townships don't want to do, and I've told these folks that through the meeting process, we can just turn into a transport service. We can just run transports all day long, and at the end of the day, if that means an ambulance will show up, it'll show up. If it doesn't, it won't. I will tell you, this is not an abnormal thing for other parts of the Commonwealth. In fact, just bordering townships and counties, there's townships in Mercer and the city of Erie themselves are now being asked to contribute to their EMS fees because, again, payer mix, Medicaid, Medicare. That's the problem. So this is just not an abnormal situation.
Can you comment, Rod?
Well, number one, I don't necessarily. I think the COG's a good avenue to advocate for it, but I'm unsure about if the COG would want to take it on, like you said, in that manner, with like bidding it, because we've tried this with tar and chip. I know tar and chip's completely different than ambulance coverage, but when we do a tar and chip thing, and all of a sudden, you're throwing a small little municipality in with a big municipality, where they're spread out. You know what I mean? One service might not want to really provide coverage to Eastmead and then also Pine. I mean, when you look at the mileage there, it doesn't make sense. So I think the COG's a good avenue to maybe advocate our state reps, state senators. I don't think it's the avenue, though, to find the service. I think that's probably something that it'd be better for, the individual municipality to figure that out.
When the bidding thresholds don't actually pertain to professional service
Right,
anyways.
right.
There is no bidding threshold, just at the county level, the same way we hire attorneys and engineering firms, just like you folks do, and we hire them at the basis of good experience from the past, or, whether we know what we need, so.
That's right.
Everybody at this table lives in Crawford County, okay?
Right.
You can do the bid thing, but where are you gonna get it?
Yeah,
Where are you gonna get
Well,
it?
yeah.
Okay, Mercer County, they can, I wouldn't want to wait on an ambulance from Mercer or Erie or wherever else, I guess. I don't know how you would do that bidding thing. You could try that, but I don't think it would be very successful because we just don't have it here. And I don't know what the answer is just yet, but I will tell you, we're working on talking about it. And I think everybody needs to be open-minded about this. And the only reason I say it is because I had 2 parents that I went through this with, and it's not pleasant. And when you have somebody down on the floor with a broken hip or a broken leg, and I had that, I don't know, it's tough. So it's not a good position to be sitting in either. So, but again, I don't have the answers, but we're talking about it. But I think everybody needs to be thinking about it.
You're 100% right. I had to use an ambulance twice last year, once for myself and once for my wife. You know, and
Yeah, nobody wants to be there.
I want to tell you what, there was nothing happier for me when I needed that ambulance when they showed up about 15 minutes later or 10 minutes.
Yeah.
You know, it was, I needed them and they got there and they got me into the hospital.
Yeah.
So I'm just, I know, I understand where you're coming from. I understand the municipalities about putting a tax on. No one wants to put taxes on anything. But maybe there is some way we can work something out
Yeah.
through
Well, I mean,
talking.
Well, there is some good news, and I'll share it with everyone here because I think it's good news. The federal government has proposed an 8.7 multiplier for Medicare. And if they attach it and leave it and don't adjust any multipliers, that millage request might be $0.25 mil, which that would be wonderful. I mean, this is something I don't have to be open about, but that's what I'm trying to advocate for is these increases. And so 8.7 for Medicare is a game changer. It might help. Usually what happens in the federal government is they allow the other 2 multipliers for rural departments expire, and then that becomes a 2% increase, and it doesn't cover the cost. We've reached out to federal legislators, like you guys should, because federal legislators take care of Medicare, state representatives take care of Medicaid. And I'll caution you, I tell you that when you have representatives who represent all of your townships say that they're very excited to have the largest rainy day fund in the state of Pennsylvania history, that's a great thing to have. But if you're not funding the ambulances at the cost to run the service, do you really have a surplus? Because they're the ones that are driving this bus. They're the ones who are not paying us for the first 20 miles. So your townships that I cover here, inclusive of you two, I get no mileage for transporting for the first 20 miles. That's a large circle. 0. No one pays me for the fuel, the staff, nothing on mileage. And I've asked each representative themselves to put in their own mileage reimbursement with the first 20 miles free. I usually get a funny look, but that's really what they're asking us to do. And so I do think you should reach out, and I would much rather meet with you than tell you that I'm not going to provide you service, but I don't have other options because that's the only way we can talk about it. And I can't imagine nothing more important than make sure an ambulance shows up at your house. And fire departments, you guys do a great job with covering your fire departments, but I got to be honest with you, there are 60% more ambulance calls than there are fire departments. I mean, you do cover their assistance with money. So.
There's a couple things that I'm thinking about here. One, Terry, I'm not a supervisor for Eastmead, but I guess if I was sitting here in the position that you're in right now, in the letter that you've received, I would see at this point what I could do to rescind that letter for a while until this thing gets critiqued and whatever happens to it. Because, I mean, to have that letter right now, you're being told, you were given notice. That would make me nervous to have that on my plate right now as a supervisor. I wouldn't want that, but I think I would be talking. And my other thing is I would caution people, if they're thinking they could use their COVID money, yeah, they could probably do that. But I think you're setting yourself up to fail. Mm-hmm. Because this needs to be, looked at deeper than COVID money. And I just don't think that that's the answer. You can use it first time around, but I think you're just kidding yourself there to use COVID money. Because it would help you initially, but it's not going to help you long term. So I personally...
Is there a deadline date on that spending it?
There is.
2024.
2024, 2024.
There is, but, and then again, some people are probably looking at it like thinking, well, we have COVID money, we'll just throw that at it. Okay, what are you going to do next year? And the year after that, and the year after that, and the year after that.
Yeah. You're fighting a losing battle.
don't run your business that way. I would not suggest that.
And I will only preface that too, John, with over the course of the last 10 years, we've had a dozen legislative meetings, we've had townships and boroughs meetings, we've had ambulance association meetings. I had a call when the article went in the paper the other day. I had a call from Kutztown Area Ambulance Service, who is a same boat everybody else is in, and said, "Hey, that's a really good idea. How did you get this, the courage to go talk to these people?" I said, "Well, I think I have a good relationship with my municipalities. I can certainly talk to them." And they're in the same boat, Kutztown, Pennsylvania. Same amount of calls they run, 6,000, same area, small town with a college in it. It sounded like it would have been Meadville. He was just another good example of way across the state of the same exact issue. This is just not a Meadville ambulance issue. It's a Client Lake issue. They haven't asked for that yet, but I will tell you that I've been west of Client Lake 120 times last year, 6 times in Pine, I just noticed. But there's no other options for people to understand that this process is just going to get worse without some solutions. So, I mean, it's a scary time.
Can you maybe talk about, just since we're all here?
Sure.
Because you're actually, instead of just EMS, the fire service, there was a study done, you guys are meeting, what is happening with all of that?
Yeah, we have
that addresses fire department and EMS.
Yeah, we have a fire commission and an EMS commission, and we've advocated for, and I'll use the same example I give everybody else. We've advocated for a cell phone fee to pay for fire and EMS. Those townships would no longer have to pay. The actual fee could come for your departments. I'll give you an example. I had a budget meeting yesterday with a 911 center. There's 110,000 devices that are feed or tax, if you want to use the word tax, feed for the 911 center. If you tax that at $3, you would have over $3 million that you could distribute back out to the municipalities by fire service and EMS service, and it wouldn't cost you a dime. One half of that money, $1.5 million, could be given to give to any service that responds to a call. So if Client Lake Ambulance runs 1,000 calls, they would get $250 more for that call that they run, no matter if it's a false alarm, it's a transport, it's a dry run, it's an overdose refusal, it's a DOA, all the calls we don't get paid for. That money would be $250 per call, and it would change EMS forever. And the reason why I say that is Pike County, Pennsylvania, their commissioners actually did, and you asked me this, there is no law for county commissioners, it's not in our purview, but in Pike County, they challenged their 20 municipalities to match $2 million in taxes, and they did. And what they did was they dropped the response time, which was in the 30-minute response time, to 9 minutes, because they could pay more people, they could train more people, they could hire more people. But to me, things like cell phone fees, everybody has a cell phone. I don't care if you own a home, I don't care if you own the nicest home, I don't care if honestly, without seeming strange about it, even an Obama phone for low-income folks, it has to pay that fee. They pay the 911 fee because they might call 911. And so we've given these options to state legislators, and I don't think you're going to want me to hear this next answer. Those legislators have said to us, well, really, it's the lowest level of government's responsibility. It's your responsibility. Why don't we change EMS to match fire? Right now, that fire number is 3 mils. 3 mils is the exact number they could ask you. You don't have to enact it, but they could ask you 3 mils for fire. They want to change EMS to 3 mils for EMS because they think that's the answer. I don't think it's the answer. I understand government. I live in West Mead. This would affect me, and I again think people need to understand what has happened for 10 years to get to where we're at today. Nobody wants to hear about a tax. Nobody. You want to fill a room with the township building, either you talk about Client Lake Park or raise taxes, right?
Yep,
that's what happens. Nobody wants to do that. We don't get anybody to come to a commissioner meeting until you ever mention raising taxes. Well, by the way, we're not doing that this year again, so that's good. At the end of the day, I think what people need to understand is if we do nothing, you will have to build a system from the ground up. There will be nobody coming in here. There used to be 4 ambulances in Meadville years ago. There's a reason there's not 4 ambulances here. There's a reason there's only 1 left, because it's just not profitable. The city of Youngstown lost their ambulance provider 120 days ago. They're now bidding it out. Think about that. The city of Youngstown lost their ambulance provider. The AMR pulled out. They weren't going to do it anymore. If there's no money in Youngstown, there's no money in Meadville, West Mead, East Mead, Woodcock, any of those places. And so I agree. Terry, I would sit with you and everyone here, and the COG could call the representatives and say, listen.
Already did.
This is what you're telling us is, this is the lowest form of government's responsibility, and you want us to go to 3 mills, right? 3 mills. That's what I can ask. And so that's the only thing I can ask. I certainly don't think 3 mills is necessary for EMS at all. But at the end of the day, if they don't change a law, if they don't look at fees, if they don't look at something different, it is your responsibility. It just is. I mean, that's the law. And I will tell you, I had a talk with a supervisor last night, and I'm glad we're having this talk, and I'm glad you were here. I had a talk with a supervisor last night who's not in my response area. And he said, if you come to my township, which by the way, I came to his township 33 times last year, are you going to charge me to respond to my township? And I said, I am. Because if all of you pay for coverage and you're helping pay, I have to charge a response. I can't have someone go to Greenwood Township and go to a DOA call with 2 people and fuel and get $0. That's not a good business model. And so it was like, well, wait a minute. Our ambulance, I said, you need to talk to your ambulance. You need to get involved with Client Lake. You need to, I'm not your provider. And that upset him. But at the end of the day, I don't have any other option, because it's not fair to say, and I think Westmead said it best, Mike said it best, I don't want to be one of 22, right? You don't want to be the only person providing funding. I can't provide the same level of service if you do that.
Right.
I think the COG would be great for just what Robbie said, is to sit in here, room, and you know, it's a good time to call them now, because they want to get elected, and they probably will. But at the end of the day, if they don't find solutions, they're going to put it back on you, and they have already said that.
Yeah.
I was at a hearing in Grove City for state legislators. It was the policy committee. They came from all over Pennsylvania, and they clearly stated, Marty Kauser was the guy in charge. This is a Commonwealth. It's the lowest level of government responsibility. That's what the law says. It's responsibility for fire and EMS. Now, it could be a Band-Aid in a bag, and Robbie could say, that's what we're doing in Vernon. We're going to put a Band-Aid in a bag, and we're responsible. You could put a fire extinguisher in a garage door. You would be responsible. One time the Fair Board did that years ago, if you remember. It wasn't a good idea. It lasted 1 hour. At the end of the day, this supervisor said to me, if someone dies in Greenwood, whose blood is on whose hands? Do you know whose hands it is? It's his. It's not mine, because I'm not responsible for providing care there. I'm not. Am I going to let someone die? I'm not going to let anybody die. I don't want that to happen. I wouldn't do this job if I didn't think that. But it's not. It's really the township's responsibility. People just never had to pay for it, and that's where we're at. Because if we don't do anything, I just won't be here. Sadly. So.
But as of the 1st of January, you're actually downsizing some of your responses
Yes,
by
we
using
are.
something
Yes,
instead
we're
of
going to
the
use a
ambulance.
singular person in a vehicle to handle calls that they don't
Which is
need
a
an
good
ambulance. We're basically telling people, if you have toe pain or finger pain, you're going to get a provider in a squad, like a little sport utility, and we're going to go there and assess them. Now, here's the funny part about the law. If they say, yes, I have a hangnail, but I want an ambulance, I still have to send them one. That's what the law says. I cannot refuse an ambulance. I won't get paid for that trip. The insurance won't pay for it, but I have to take them. And every 2 years, they can audit me and say, oh, you owe me some money back because you shouldn't have took that hangnail. That's the life of EMS, unfortunately.
Eric, let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
You had indicated to us that you've had to downsize a lot, you've had to change things, you aren't updating ambulances like you used to,
Right.
can't afford to, $17,000+ a year for fuel.
Yep.
Well, was, but I see $6 a gallon for diesel fuel. But anyways, if things got turned around and you got the financing that you believe you need to continue to maintain and function, would that allow you to get back up into a better operating status?
Oh, absolutely.
As far as, you know, a newer ambulance
Sure.
or another one, you know what I mean? You know, and that type of thing. I guess a lot of people are going to want to know too, okay, if you throw money at this thing, or however it comes out at the end of the day here, are we going to see a difference there? You know what I mean? And you're
Well-
saying yes, if you could.
Well, I think what you'll see a difference is you'll be able to recruit, train, and employ more providers. I will tell you, though, in the last 20 years since I've owned the ambulance service, we've never we have answered 98% of our calls. We're at 98.6%. So we run 6,000 calls a year. We scratch as few as calls as you can imagine. The call volume scratching Pine Lake area is about 20%, and I cover 12% of those. So that's with those calls. So as far as the service goes, I'm very proud of the fact that my employees are fast. Like they load people, they know that they have something else waiting, or they know they can't dilly-dally around. They're really good about getting to the hospital and getting done. But I think what that money will do is allow us to pay people a better wage. I mean, EMTs right now, and I took a picture of it because I couldn't believe it, EMTs right now who work for me make less than you make at Sheets. The people at Sheets, if you work second shift as a crew member, you make $19 an hour. That's my EMTs make $16 an hour. So they're doing the stuff they do, dealing with bed bugs, dealing with sick people, dealing with vomiting, and I can't tell you how terrible the stuff they see for $3 less an hour. And so what has to happen in EMS is it needs to be a fair and livable wage for people. And I think that's something where, I think that would improve. People would want to do this. I always tell everybody, the books that have paramedic curriculum in it, they show nice car wrecks and really cool stuff, and every emergency show you ever saw is really cool and impressive. They never show you bed bugs, diarrhea, or vomiting. If they would put those in the books, maybe half the people would leave and you wouldn't waste their time on it, because when they get into EMS, they realize, did I sign up for this? And unfortunately, that's a lot of our job, is some really uncomfortable situations.
Yeah.
Housing, places we go to. So.
Well, and I know there's some of it, because I've heard some of the stories. The places you
So
go.
Terry, what I'd like you to do to clear the air and just start fresh with you is get a hold of your supervisors and set up a meeting with me, and we'll sit down and talk.
I'll
And I
do
think
that.
that's the best thing.
I will be seeing them tonight, and I will be.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
I will do that. Yeah, because the more information is going to help us, make this decision. And of course, I'm one that I have an issue of residents paying for services they never use. Right off the top of the head, that's what I first think of, okay? In my 50-some years, I've never used an ambulance, thank God.
Yet.
But.
Yet.
Yes. And I agree with that.
It's like life
But
insurance. When are you gonna use it?
I have,
When you die.
I have insurance on my policy
Sure.
to pay you.
Yep.
So that's what my thought is.
No, and I appreciate that thought. It makes a lot of sense, because I think that's the problem with the ambulance. People don't see the need all the time because they don't necessarily use it all the time.
Right.
It's a very valid point. But as I told the supervisor last night, who I don't cover, if someone dies in Greenwood Township and you choose not to have an ambulance provider, if you think $7,000 is too much, I think you're going to find out quickly what the cost of a lawsuit is, because it is their responsibility. I mean, that's the truth. I mean, I just think that's important to know. It's one of those things. I think being part of the regional police force, right? People will say, well, why do you do that? Why do you have that? Why do we have a West Mead Police? Because our township wants that protection, right? We want to pay the extra money. The city of Meadville is the same way. Vernon the same way. A lot of people say, why do we have a police department? Well, because we choose to live here for that protection, and I appreciate what you guys do with them. But EMS is no different, really. So.
One other quick thing that I'd like to say is this is just at this table, and this is barely getting out there. I don't know how far this goes, who watches, who doesn't. Tribune's not here for us.
I'll share it on Facebook for you. So it's a
But
good
here's what I will say. Before anybody made any permanent decisions of any kind, I think that the surrounding municipalities, this map, I wouldn't be opposed to putting a representative from every municipality in this room, because one, I'd like to feel or have input from other people too.
Yep.
And let them know, one, what we're thinking. We don't even know what we're thinking just yet, tell you the truth, because, like I said, it's early.
I
It's
have all
early.
kinds of thoughts.
Well, we do. We have thoughts.
And
we have a lot of-
And I
nothing-
cover all but
and-
I cover all but 3 of these. So
Okay,
you
you understand what I'm saying? I before you would make a permanent decision and talk to your other board and all of a sudden just say flat out, no, we're not doing that, or we're doing this and we're gonna do this and we're gonna do that. Before you make those kind of rational decisions, I think there needs to be some get-together time here. Let's not everybody go out there and just all of a sudden just say, oh, the heck with that,
Right.
Or
I
we're
can
gonna
tell
do
you.
that, and
Yeah.
this is how we're gonna do it. I think let's get together and make this the big picture, because it is the big picture.
Yeah.
And
I can tell you our board is concerned and we have no issue of doing one or the other. I mean, it's just simple as that. We need that coverage. But to get there, I was looking for options, and I'm not sure there are going to be any. So that's my concern. But
I
getting
think there
together,
are
maybe.
options.
Yeah.
On the other side of the coin, I think there are options. Again, like I said to you, I wouldn't want that letter on my lap right now. And I think the door is open here.
But I don't think he wants to pay, I don't think you want to pay $41,000 for EMS when you can pay $7,000. I mean, that's the difference between the two rates, so.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, now that you've been forced to send the letter because, you know,
We
you
didn't
basically
meet,
were
yeah.
told that they had no desire to meet with you, then that forces something else. And I think that's what kind of ripples the water a little bit sometimes, and I think it's too early to have ripply water. I think you need to be,
I mean, that is the number one thing I heard from all municipalities is like, if I'm doing this, I want to make sure that my neighbor's doing it. I'm just telling you what my answer is. I have 22 municipalities, 2 in Mercer, by the way, French Creek and Deer Creek Township, who are 480 people in one place and 300 something in the other, and they are on board, and I am 22 miles from them. I mean, they're in the middle of nowhere, so they have an elderly population, and the supervisor.
22 minutes.
The supervisor
One way.
said, same thing. I used your service, and you saved my life. I had a stroke, and I
When you
appreciate
need it,
so.
you need it, and you need it now. You don't need it tomorrow.
I do have one quick question for you, and it really isn't pertaining to this, but 9 times out of 10, are you on site at an EMS call or the emergency calls prior to the fire department? Are you usually there first?
During the
or-
daytime, yes.
Okay,
At nighttime, depends.
yeah.
I mean, Vernon, in Rob's case, he has no more QRS coverage. His fire service, they don't have enough providers to do that. East
At
Mead,
all?
East Mead, none.
No.
We are the first. In fact, Robbie knows this already, but our intention is to move 1 ambulance to Vernon Township, to the fire hall, so.
Well, I noticed you do that, because I've seen, you know, in different times, I've seen ambulances at Westmead too, you know, different places throughout the township or the county, and I think it cuts that response, right? I mean, is that the object?
That's the
in that?
idea, yeah. I mean, in Robbie's case, he has a large volume. There's 900 calls we handle in his area. And for us to be the first responder 10, 12 minutes away is a problem when someone's really sick. So we try to, it's just an option. Vernon Central has a tough time with medical people, and so we thought it's a good option to move there. And we're running 10% of Client Lake's calls on dumps too, so it's another good benefit, so.
Do you get in on the lift assist things as well?
Fire departments primarily do lift assist, but if they're not available, we do that. And they're not happy about that, but that's what that's a lot too. It's a lot
There's
of
a
lift
charge
assist.
for that as well?
Some townships are having their fire departments charge, some,
Yeah, but I mean, for you, there's a charge, yes?
we actually don't do enough of them to really charge, but we would if we had to,
Yeah.
so yeah.
Would
I think
that,
like Westmead's charging $110 or something like that.
something like that, I know
Probably
that they
talked to
did.
that lady, I'm sure she. Yeah, you did, didn't you? Yeah, it's a charge. I mean.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I get it, but if that was the case, this money would cover no matter what you do, correct? Whether it's a lift assist or an accident or an overdose or...
Transporting people paid by the patient, that's the only way we can bill insurance is transport. So yes, at the end of the day, we could do that, but we don't do the lift assist. So that's a fire thing.
Right.
It's a fire code on the dispatch center. In a case of Vernon in the daytime, if we were there, we told them, like, we'll handle lift assist because there's just nobody there, so.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
I know our police department usually goes with the
Yeah.
ambulance.
Yeah.
They're there
Yeah,
with.
sometimes they provide care too.
Right.
Some guys are
Right.
EMTs, yeah.
Yeah. But it's, I know it's tough right now.
No comment, Woodcock?
Linesville has
Yeah, just,
their own ambulance.
Yes,
Connie Lake's the next,
correct.
Connieville, Springboro, Summit.
Mm-hmm.
We have 5 providers. And if we put a tax on, who gets that, them or you?
So in places like Robbie where it's 90-10, Client Lake does cover 10% of Vernon, we would calculate the variance of that, 90% of the calls to 10%. We would calculate the total calls and divide it by percentage. That's-
So it would go to everybody,
Yeah.
not just,
Mhm. Yeah, Cusawaga, when I went to there, they have 4 providers.
when you think like Langsville Borough and Pine, that money should go to the fire department.
The ambulance, the Linesville ambulance, potentially, I mean,
You know, like if we're sending it to you, you're gonna
Oh, you don't have to send it to me, I'm not your primary provider, so,
Well, that's what I'm asking.
yeah.
We're pretty well covered on our end, so I'm not against doing a tax increase, but it needs to go to the proper place.
Right.
Not to me, though, where maybe you'll have to rely on them what percentage of the time.
Yeah, if I had to run to your township and 3 times a year, I'd probably send you a bill for a response.
Probably, I know they've had problems, but you're assisting the Pine probably because class is tied up.
Lineville's not in service, classes not in service, and Springboro Lineville's not in service, or Summit. Yeah, there is a problem in Western Crawford County because a lot of the volunteer services are struggling to stay in
Well,
service.
do you think that's gonna help them just throw money at it?
No.
You
I mean, I'm being honest with you.
You can throw money at volunteer departments and it doesn't help.
They've tried a lot of different things.
I mean,
Getting volunteers, you mean? Yeah,
People just
it's-
aren't volunteering.
I think it's a dying breed, to tell you
It
the
is.
truth.
Well, I mean, I just got rid of a volunteer fire department.
Yeah.
And I was giving them $32,500 a year on top of liquid fuels money. And they,
Yeah.
I mean, there's some other issues, but.
Yeah, it wouldn't help necessarily, and maybe, I know Client Lake, she has a very tight budget. Thank God for Madeira, because I don't know where they'd be without her.
Somebody's
But they
gonna
would,
be in
they would definitely use, they paid their people, I mean.
I'd like to hear what you have to say.
I just wondered how many figured out what a $500,000 is per assessed parcel.
I have most of them.
For us, it's
I-
about 42,000.
No, per parcel.
Oh,
Per parcel.
So I did an average in
Oh, you
Woodcock
did that?
Township. So a homeowner in Woodcock Township, and I only did a handful, and I just averaged that, $13 a year.
Yeah, I have all those in my
Yeah.
office.
Yeah, and again, I don't have a problem with the tax, or, you know, if we have to do it, I don't have a problem doing it, because I have, I guess it's, again, the first thought, and what started this in my mind was paying for, the residents paying for services they don't use. I have 1,400 residents in our township, you know, and, you know, I have state highways that, you know, the accidents are, you know, Titusville people, they're Meadville people, you know what I mean? They're all over the spectrum. My first initial thought in reading this was, how many calls and how many are they residents? And why are the residents paying for a service they're not using? I always come down to that fact. It's like our stormwater, it's like our sewage. It's a user fee.
And it took you.
Can I make it a user fee
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
when you come to a township, okay? Can I charge that resident, because I'm paying for it? Can I make it a user fee? Those are the questions that I.
Tax bite technically is. I'll tell
It
you, in
is,
West
yeah,
King's case, their volume is much higher because they have subsidized housing within their township. And we go to that subsidized housing a large amount of times. They're not paying property tax, but it just happens to be in their township. Robbie and I talked because he's got medical facilities, the Oncology Wellness Center, the Vernon Place. He has the dialysis center. There's a lot of calls that are generated by medical facilities in Robbie's township. And so that, you know, he kind of, to show volume, that's where they come from.
And on
That's
my-
really one of the reasons I kind of like the cell phone, and this is
Love the
just
cell phone.
without looking into things, we just started.
I love it. I love
We've
it.
just
Like it would be
begun.
even
So
cheaper
to me,
yet
I would think the
for-
cell phone, that's with the legislators though. That's where
Yep, they
we
have to.
may, and I think the COG can help do that.
Everybody pays.
We can certainly facilitate all
Here's the
those
thing, if you had something
conversations.
in place.
Well, and with
it's
that
not-
money from a cell phone, you
if they're
could
gonna
go
use it,
back
maybe
and
when.
not have to pay into fire
know,
service
and you
much.
don't
They
know.
could
You never
handle
You
those
never know,
costs.
you never know.
And it would be
That's-
not
again,
just
but that's why-
Right,
EMS.
people-
Fire
Farming
department,
accident, you know,
Oh, but say
you do, you're smart enough to do
Yeah,
that.
but
You don't know how many
that's
people
my,
aren't.
right. I do, I
There's
understand.
110 devices that are taxed on a wired or wireless device. So, that, you know, people have gone away from home phones. It used to be taxed on your home phone. It's $1.65 for the 911 system right now. But now, if you have a cell phone, if your watch is your watch a phone, mine as well. He also gets a fee on the watch because it's a cellular device. So you pay that $1.65 on every device you have that's got a communication ability. So.
It's only 110.
110,000.
I'm surprised. I would think it'd be,
That's what we calculated out yesterday.
I would just, because what, the population is what?
83.
83. I would just think it'd be a little more, because I mean, I have my phone, my watch, an iPad.
iPad, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and I know a lot of people are similar. I don't,
We
obviously.
were calculating, because we calculated, there's a percentage for Pima, but that was the estimate we had based on what we received. I mean,
Okay, that's,
And honestly, it wouldn't just be Crawford County. If this was enacted by the legislature,
absolutely.
then it
That
would be statewide. It would
Can the
help,
county
and I think that would be a
enact that? They
funding
have to go
source.
through the legislators to enact that.
Yep, and the only other discussion was a 1% sales tax, which there is on the books a 1% sales tax for counties who can use it if their retirement fund is upside down, and they were going to try and adjust that. But again, and there's the reasoning for 1% sales tax was the transient population. You just talked about that, right? That's what's great about a cell phone. If I'm in Woodcock with my cell phone, or I'm in Cambridge with my cell phone, or I'm in West Michigan, wherever I'm at, if I'm transient, I'm paying for that. Now, it doesn't capture out of county transients where sales tax would. And so that was the other discussion point with the sales tax. I like them both. Listen, I hate property tax. I think it's a terrible way to tax people, but
I hate sales tax.
and I know what his point was too about cars and things, but that's the only other option they've talked about, what we've heard. I love the cell phone tax. I think it's great. And I know that Representative Roy, not a huge fan of the cell phone tax because he's afraid, and he does have some plausibility here. When you give money to the state, it somehow does not seem to filter back the way it should. But it does at the 911 center. It already works. We get 83% of those collected. 15 goes to Pima for special projects. 2% goes for administration. So that's not bad. You know, we get 83% of that.
So he doesn't trust the entity that he's connected to.
Well, I don't know about that. But I do agree that sometimes the state does do that. They say, well, we have money. And
There's no
Yeah,
question.
look at the liquid fuels.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
So this has been a boisterous COG meeting.
Been a good one.
Sorry.
I'm glad you came. I'm glad I came. I appreciate
Yeah,
it.
I'm glad you were here too, really.
I had
So-
actually talked to Brad's office yesterday. He's at a PASHA, some kind
Yeah,
of
PASHA,
school thing. So that being said, because I was thinking, well, this would be a good maybe place to invite him, but
Yeah, and I think that he
I
actually
think
he
this
talked
is-
to me about coming here, and I said, well, I usually try and go. But the one thing I would say too is, from all of your townships is whether you come up with that toolbox, that solution, you could just frankly say, listen, the millage for small townships can't sustain the needs of EMS and fire. That's really what the discussion needs to start with. Now let's find out something else that works. There are other entities that in other counties, other states that work well. It just doesn't have to be property tax to do it.
Eric, is there leniency and time? Because when you try to put this together, that might not be as easy. I mean, it sounded easy for me just throwing it out
You
there.
just did the next one by yourself already. I just heard it in a few minutes.
But I'm
I'm thinking COG tire event and EMS.
If I have that kind of authority, I'm going to just be delegating a little blazes out of it. But here's what I'm asking is before you would be forced to start chucking out these letters that for people that are either that aren't responding or that say they are going to respond and
Carry
they
with you on board.
haven't.
We got taken care of now.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, and I get it. I tell you what, I think
It's on camera.
if this would have happened, you probably wouldn't have been sending the letter. You know what I mean?
Oh, sure. I mean, there's no other way to someone to the table than to say you're not going to have an ambulance service. I mean, that usually helps.
So my thought on that is how much time is there? I mean, we're all pretty busy right now with budget and,
Sure.
for
Understand
us
that.
getting ready for winter and, people. I mean, we're in the process of some new people here. You have no people.
Nobody.
Other than one.
Well, yeah.
You have one. And,
New secretary.
I mean, really, in reality, we have till, what, April or May? Because if we instituted a tax doesn't come in until we send out the tax bills. I mean, and not saying that, you have to institute a tax to do this, but Eric, if he's looking for this funding, he's not going to receive it until the spring.
well, I mean, I'm
Yeah,
saying.
you know what I mean?
if I make an agreement with you for a fee for 2023, and part of the agreement is it's paid by June 1st or whatever,
Yeah.
I mean, that's
Yeah, you have
obviously
some time.
understandable.
You can buy some time that way.
But I
I
just
was
think,
looking
And truly,
for
that's what we-
2024.
You can keep looking.
Yeah, and truly, that's what we thought, putting it
Hitler missed her
putting it
somewhere along the line.
off for a couple months.
My only argument with that is I've been putting it off for 20 years. I've invested my own money when I purchased this place, and I've invested a lot of money throughout the process. And at the end of the day, we've exhausted everything we can do with the state. We've tried to meet with them, we've tried to have meetings, it just doesn't work. I mean, so.
They're just not meeting, they're not wanting to
They
meet?
come to lots of breakfasts. When you buy breakfast for legislators, they love to come, but when they leave, and I've told them, I'm not gonna buy any more breakfast, I'm just not. I mean, there's nothing else that we can do, and this is a group of 10 or 12 ambulances in this region who've done this. They've just tried to meet.
If you're gonna buy breakfast, let's be productive.
Well,
Through that process, let's get something done at the end of the day.
actually, that's why I like low-level government, because you guys get stuff done. You don't have any other choice. So, I mean, Robbie's got a lot of stuff, good stuff in this town. You gotta get them done.
Probably not.
My biggest fear is time to try to get it all put together and come up with a good, reasonable solution. And everybody on the map needs to be involved, and that's, I want to see that. Mike wants to see that too.
It's too late.
You know, so that
Yeah,
everybody's
it's too late
treated fair.
for that, I understand.
I'm just saying,
Yeah.
I think it takes a lot
We
of,
didn't do that earlier.
What's your answer, Chris?
That's why, I guess, part of the reason I'm thinking 2024, because timeframes and trying to get things done, a lot of townships, you can't just make a decision on a dime. And what he just asked me is kind of going along with that. When is our next county convention? For all of this, all the people to
We
be
just
together.
had one on
Well,
Yeah,
right.
unfortunately,
that's-
yeah.
We didn't know that. We
Didn't know it then,
This
yeah.
was kind of
But
after that.
there's
So
a-
it's not till the spring,
here's
it's
the
not
thing.
till May.
I wouldn't,
That's what he just asked me.
And what precipitated this letter, and I have to go, because I have to go to appeals hearings, and you guys want me to go to those. What precipitated this letter is, our last talk with congressional leaders, they were very clear. When the chairman of the policy committee, who creates policy, like cell phone policies, when the chairman of the policy committee says, you need to go to the townships because this is a commonwealth, and this is the lowest level form of government, that's really the answer the EMS people have from the state. We've exhausted it. And maybe they look at us like, well, you guys just want to make more money. I mean, at the end of the day, that's what they want to do, is put this down, filtered down to the bottom. They don't, again, having a big rainy day fund's great. Well, I can have a rainy day fund if I pay ambulances less than 1/4 the cost to run a Medicaid call. I'll have lots of money left over. I mean, I don't know, that's why it precipitated the move, because they've given their answer. It's a commonwealth, so you guys are responsible. That's their answer.
Hasn't that always been an issue with Medicare, and they don't only pay so much?
Yeah, but in the last 5 years, John, they have put so much more people on Medicaid. They've increased the Medicaid rolls 20%, and so that's more ambulance calls that are Medicaid calls and not people who have, well, and again, good commercial insurance, retirement insurance, those are kind of tough to come by, and people don't have great insurance.
Years ago, I used to be chief of lines of Randy Ambulance Service. We based everything on memberships.
Yeah.
What we ran on, fire department membership and
Yep.
membership. So when you add a tax on that, to me, that's double dipping. To me, it is.
In the case of ambulances, you're paying for the response, the coverage fee, the requirement, and the transport is paying for the patient. And the difference between Lionsville and Meadville is I have a $2 million budget. So I mean, that's, I've got, it's $750,000 for one ambulance 24 hours a day. I have 3 of them.
I know
Too far away.
from
so-
experience, today, you don't have the people you
Right.
used to have. They're willing to go into if somebody's got something wrong with them and take a
Well,
chance of getting it yourself.
after you've had this COVID, I mean, hey, that changed everything.
Absolutely.
That just pushed us to the edge is all. I mean, that's all.
Yeah.
Shouldn't
Put
be
people on-
I've always said this, these hospitals should be
On edge.
subsidizing your
Yeah.
ambulance services somehow.
See, I've always said, and I tell our fire department the same thing, they should be allowed to charge for their services through insurance.
You can.
When a fire department answers a call,
They
They
do.
do. I mean, they can.
They use a billing agency. A lot of them
okay,
use it.
Yeah.
that's news to me.
Yeah.
So,
You charge per
okay.
man hour, per engine hour, per what you, like a rescue tool, if you pull a rescue tool, there's a charge, they bill people's insurance.
Amount of guys with air packs
Yep.
on, the amount of guys without it, I mean.
Now, Robbie, correct me if I'm wrong, they're not all paid, right? They're not, all of those are not paid, but some are at a percentage level.
Yeah, I mean, like when they send the bill out, it's all about like first come, first serve
Yeah.
type of thing, like on an
What-
accident.
Well,
Like if they bill on an accident and if it's a bad wreck, and the fire department comes and has to cut somebody out of the car, but you got stat medvac coming and say, stat takes somebody, the ambulance takes another patient, there's gonna be a lot of bills going into the insurance and they don't all get paid out at the same level.
I guess that's what I'm being told, is they don't get paid.
They can.
And that's the question is why, if I turn it into insurance, why aren't
Auto
they
or
paying it?
homeowner, yeah.
I mean, aren't they required, is I guess
I
the
need
question.
to be going back.
So I guess
can
that's.
excuse
thank you.
myself.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I
Yeah.
think we're.
Hey, I think we're gonna, our next meeting is January 19th.
Yeah.
I think maybe we should try to,
Thank you. I will.
Discuss
I'll,
this.
yeah, I'll get a hold of you, okay?
okay.
There's a few of us that are already
You'll
talking,
have
but
stuff.
maybe we can
Right.
even, and we can get some information out
Yeah.
before that. But if you want to talk about it again at the January meeting and see where we're at.
Well, I think we
Is
should.
that what a?
It's a very important issue, and I don't know
And I
that,
like this idea of this cell phone. This makes
Well,
sense.
there's I just,
I'm trying really hard
there's
not to,
options
but I
that
don't
we
think
should be
that's gonna
looking
happen.
at and talking about. That's what I think
and that's,
should happen at
It
the
really
town.
a lot of it is why I brought that up, is I don't know our options. I don't know what's available.
Exactly.
I don't know how to move forward. And so,
Yeah.
you know, I got some good information, and that really helped today, so.
All right, I need a motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Seconded. Any further discussion on that? Hearing none, we are adjourned.